couple billion years, the sun's going to blow up. It won't even matter whether my guitar's in tune or not. Yeah, all right. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Tom's Guitar Show. I'm Tom. They call me Guitar Tom because I'm often seen with the guitar. And they used to call me on the phone back in the olden days when this was a call-in show.
When people talked on phones.
Right, yeah. You don't do that anymore. But anyway, people ask me questions and like, hey, man, what's your show about? I say, well, it's about an hour. About guitar players, guitar playing, all things guitaristic. So, you can't call me anymore to ask me questions about the guitarrón, the guitarras, sitars, lutes, vihuelas, banjos, balalaikas, bajos sextos, and bandurios, and bajos cincos, and bandolims, and bandors, and mandoras, and mandolins, and mandocellos, and didgeridoos. Yeah, didgeridoos, yeah. Pipe organs and piccolos, harmoniums, harmonicas, harpsichords. Did I say trombones and tromboninas? A flat, B, and C clarinets, yeah.
Irish harps, pixie harps, and Jews harps.
That's right, all those kind of harps too. All that stuff, man. We could talk about, cornetos and crumhorns, quartholts. But we could talk about politics, world events.
What about my own personality problems?
Yeah, we could talk about Bob's personality problems, or mine for that matter. We already know what mine is. I've got guitar acquisition syndrome. But anyway, we're going to keep it clean. This is a family show. All right, so, I brought my guild here. This is a guild Bluesbird, which is kind of interesting. I have this thing, I know that, there's like one or two guitar players out here who watch this show because, I ramble on about stuff that almost nobody else cares about, but they do. So I've had this one for a while. I don't know how long, not that long really, but it's Guild. But it's kind of like a Les Paul. I've had it on the show before, but it's lighter because it's chambered, which means they scooped out a lot of the wood inside underneath here. So it's not exactly a hollow body, but it has hollow chambers. And this means it's got a little bit more resonance to it than it would or a different kind of resonance than if it were all solid wood. It also means it's a heck of a lot lighter than a Les Paul with a maple cap. Of course, the maple cap means the top piece of wood here glued on is maple, which is very heavy, as you know. I remember attempting to make something out of maple once, and it was very hard to carve. Very hard stuff, man. In fact, the maple neck on a guitar, you get like a Strat or Tele, it's kind of cool to the touch. Kind of cold. It's like marble or something. Anyway, I really like this guitar. And the thing, I just actually came back. I was on my way here. I went to the guitar shop.
Imagine that.
Yeah. Well, it's like You get your
Like the car knows the way.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like the milk horse, the milk run, or the horse, the milk
Horse knows
delivery.
the route.
So if somebody stops, getting milk, the guy has to actually get off the wagon and jiggle around a couple bottles and get back on again because the horse isn't going to go anywhere until he's, because the horse knows. So my car just, But anyway, no, I went there actually, the reason why I went there was I had I wanted to get this guitar, just raise the action up a little bit. I'm going to play it because I haven't really messed with it. I'm probably going to put different strings on it. And I'm going to demonstrate this one. But also, my old buddy Mr. Dixon, with whom I used to pal around with when I was 25. I met him when I was 25, or 24 actually. That's right. And I was over at a friend of mine's apartment and lived there with his girlfriend. And there's this kind of crazy guy there. And we lived kind of in the same direction, so it was snowy. We walked, like 2 miles, which wasn't a big deal for either one of us.
25-year-old.
Yeah, well, I could still do it, but wouldn't be the same. Anyway, but why would I? Anyway, but I can still do it barely. Anyway, anyway, so we were talking about this and that. We became pretty good pals. And then that was right before I was leaving for California, where I turned 25. And had all kinds of adventures on the West Coast again. Unemployed and homeless again. And when I came back months later, we started hanging out. So he's a pretty good buddy of mine for a number of years. Then he moved to Chicago, to Hyde Park. I used to go and, I'd visit him sometimes, hang out there and stuff like that. And I'd put him up. Lots of times he'd just sleep on the floor with the dog, I don't know. But anyway, he's been in Austin. He's been working for FEMA, being deployed and Texas has a lot of disasters. So he's been living in, working in Texas, although he lives in northern Minnesota, near the Canadian border, where the winds hit heavy on the borderline. Anyway, so that's a Bob Dylan lyric, the North Country, because Bob was from Hibbing. This is Finland, Minnesota. Anyway, so some pal of his in Austin was an older singer-songwriter guy who finally kicked the bucket, so to speak, and he had a lot of guitars and things that were like of value and everything, but he had a sitar from India and a pipa from from China, excuse me. And I happen to know a bunch about these things, but the pipa, the wooden frets have come unglued. And so anyway, I gave that to, I just dropped it off for Dave to fix for me. So I've got a pipa. The sitar, on the other hand, I'm going to have to, and it doesn't have anything wrong with it except the strings are busted and it needs some extra strings and stuff. And I don't know anything about a sitar, but I've always wondered about the sitar and the pipa. The pipa is like a 4-string kind of Chinese mandolin-like thing. I think I can get a handle on that. The sitar, though, man, I don't know. Why? Anyway, that's what I did today. Gee, Bob, what did you do today?
Gosh, what did I do today? Went to my arthritis exercise class this morning.
There you go, okay. That's something to look forward to for us all. That's all right then. Could have been worse.
Yeah.
At least you didn't hang around.
It could be so stiff I couldn't drive the car, but
Yeah. Well, you made it. I'm starting to worry about things, like this elbow and this shoulder. And that's kind of my thing. The one thing about this guitar to play is it's small. It's full sounding, but it's sort of small. I can flip this over here and go. Oh man, that's bad. Did I'll tune it later. Hang on a second. We'll try something else. What I want to do is I want to show this thing off. I've been thinking about this. See, I'm not really properly prepared for this program, but why change the habits of a lifetime?
besides that, if we ever get it right, we're done.
That's right. Well, one of the mottos here from Tom's Guitar Show is we'll keep doing it until we get it right. We'll attribute that to the late, great Phil Phillips. And actually, he's the one who said it's about an hour. Because somebody called years ago. years and years ago on the call-in show. I said, "Hey man, what's your show about?" And Phil said, "About an hour." So I've
And it turned out he was right.
yeah, he was right. All right. This is a better tune.
He didn't think that up all by himself, though. He had a clock in there.
That's right. Yeah. Well, he knew. This needs more volume though, because it's not as. Hang on a second. One thing about this guitar is I'm using a little noise reduction here. I used to watch that show Northern Exposure in the reruns that used to come on the TV back in the old days when I had rabbit ears. And there was one where the character, the kind of redneck astronaut character in that TV show, I must be at least 20 years old by now, that show. But anyway, oh heck, I was watching old reruns 20 years ago. Anyway, so he bought this old German clock, this old collectible clock. But it wouldn't, well, it needed to have a technician come from Germany to restore it. So the guy who comes wasn't what he wanted. He wanted the German engineer guy with the, wire rim glasses and a lab coat and everything like that. What he got was some sort of punk rock, a guy, And so anyway, so he didn't approve of this guy because he wanted his, his stereotype. And so the guy, but then when you fixed the clock up and I got it working and everything like that, it didn't exactly keep time. And then he was complaining about this. And the technician said, "I'm just going to take this clock back to Germany." And he said, "Well, why?" "Because all this clock has been ticking away for all these years, and all you care about is whether it keeps time, And so the guy, the astronaut guy had to, learn the lesson or something, because that's what the show is about. It's like these crazy people learning lessons. So anyway, this thing is basically copied after John D'Angelico's guitars he started building in the 1930s, because he had a career from the 1930s to the 1960s when he got, he died or whatever. And some guy, DeQuisto, took over for a while. And so this is a big, fat jazz box. But this is kind of a noisy room. There's all these lights and everything like that, and computers all around. But here I am, like, complaining about it being noisy. But this guitar is really finicky about what kind of room I play in. I played it briefly at the Tuscan Moon on I guess probably Friday night it was, and this was nice out there outdoors in the patio because I didn't get all the noise, what Well, here, I'm going to take off my noise reduction thing.
Well, 60 cycle hum.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, isn't it? I've got more.
I guess you're supposed to say 60 hertz some these days,
Yeah, well,
because it hurts some.
it hurts, yeah. Right. There's something going on, you know. Some other electronic interference going. Zzz. And that, isn't that egregious? I have a couple of things I can do to kind of kill that. But probably the thing to do is to play it in rooms. I should play it with a battery-powered amp in a room with no electricity and a candlelight. Or I could just play an acoustic guitar because... Anyway, so I have this noise gate. It's not so bad. But anyway, this thing is kind of interesting. I haven't, even gotten totally warmed up to it yet. I think I have to play it in the right kind of room. The amp I'm using, which is another one of my stories for this week, is this is a couple of years old Fender Mustang 1. And this is an amp with a bunch of modeling and stuff on it, all digital effects. And it's actually quite light, not very expensive, like $120 or something for one of these things. And it's but my problem is, and I've gone on about this in my shows, like if it rains or if it's too hot in my outdoor gig, which I play in the summer, they move me indoors. In which case, my larger amp that I play through my Roland JC40 is just too big to put in the dining room indoors at the Tuscan Moon.
Downtown Kelowna?
Downtown Kelowna, yeah.
Weekends?
Weekends, yeah. That Thursday, Friday, Saturday for now. I don't know if Thursday is going to go on through the winter. Probably, I don't know. But Friday, Saturday, I've been there for a long time now. Make reservations, is my advice. Definitely make reservations. They turn people away on the weekends. So, but anyway, so I go in, and then if I have to, I'm on my outdoor thing. So for my small amp I have indoors, I have an acoustic guitar amp, a Fishman Loudbox Mini, which is the kind of good amp that I bring on this show quite a bit when I play an acoustic electric guitar. Sorry. First yawn, I'm boring myself. Anyway, I can't seem to get a decent electric guitar sound out of that little acoustic guitar amp. Years and years ago, I had the Ultrasound, which was made out of a Des Moines, I think it's Waukee, actually, a suburb of Des Moines, based company. And then the guy sold the company to Dean Markley, who started making them in China, and they weren't the same. It was a small company, in the Des Moines area. That amp was great. I could plug a big fat hollow body into it and it would sound wonderful. And I would, and of course it was really good for acoustic electric guitars. So to make my short story just that much longer, here I am, I need an extra amp. So I'm trying to warm up to this thing. I had this thing, I left this here. That's probably, most of this dust is probably from Kelowna. But my problem is if you don't have everything set right, it sounds terrible. Because most people, a lamp like that, they want to sound distorted. And I'm trying to sound like this. I'm not even sure if I like that. Let's do the next one up here. Let's try this one. A little different. I'd show you some of the other ones. But with this thing, I would get terrible feedback. And, because the other thing about hollow bodies, they feed back. So one thing about this guitar, it came with a really low action, and it had a really low action, and it had really wimpy kind of electric guitar strings. Instead of these are 11s. I'm probably going to end up putting 12s on it. I think I should just use this either with really good noise reduction, and 12 means it's a heavier gauge. A lot of rockers use 9s, 0.009. I like 11s on a regular, like a Stratocaster, which is 0.011. This has 11s, but these are flat wounds, chrome plated. Feedback. Anyway, so I just had Dave jack up the bridge here for me a little bit. The repair guy at the Musician's Pro Shop. I happen to know he'd be working behind the counter. so anyway, so I'll probably put 12s on it. In my troubled youth, I would have put 13s on a guitar like this. But
macho, man.
Yeah, I got nothing to prove anymore, you know. But then you can they don't you can hit them hard, nothing happens. Anyway, so this is my my D'Angelico Deluxe XL1. And maybe I'll bring my cheap D'Angelico Premier SS. Because, you know, last week I didn't get a guitar. I got 3.
Oh. I was about to marvel, but...
No, I didn't. I got a bunch of... I mean, I was waiting a long time for this, so I was going to... I'll bring them, the other ones on. The one's bright blue. I just didn't want to mess with all the chroma key problems we might have with that. Cause bright, shiny blue thing. Kind of nice, actually. Doesn't have any problems like this one does. This is... The reason I told the story about the... my point with the Northern Exposure episode with the punk rock German clock repair guy saying, you know, you wanted to keep... This thing's been like ticking away for centuries and you wanted to keep perfect time. You know? So, well, yeah, this is like a more primitive guitar. This is like an old, you know, 1940s type of guitar, basically. Of course, it's a modern replica, but they used D'Angelico's design. And it's kind of cool, man. But it feeds back. It's got this great big box, you know, to resonate, so it feeds back. It hums. Yeah, but, you know, it's... What can I say? This is the... I mean... It looks... Doesn't that look cool? I mean...
Yeah.
It looks like it's wearing a tuxedo, don't you think? It's all gold up here and everything like that. And, yeah.
It's kind of flat black in real life. It looks silver on the screen.
Yeah, well, everything...
Depending on which camera we're on. It looked black on one camera.
Did you ever see those photos of what people really looked like on TV in the old days? You know, they were so made up and stuff like that they would look like ridiculous, like clowns. But on TV, they looked fine. So we don't wear makeup on Tom's guitar show, as you probably noticed. But gee, what if we had a makeup artist work us over? Huh? Yeah,
people wouldn't recognize us.
I suppose. Yeah, we could just get better looking people on the show, I guess.
But then what would we do?
Yeah, what we do, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Anyway.
I saw a documentary one time about effects for monster movies. Mm-hmm. And in the old black and white days, a lot of times they'd have like red makeup or green makeup or something, and then filters in front of the camera to, well, like when they change somebody into a werewolf or a vampire or something.
Oh, so that, yeah, so they would filter out
in
that
front
color.
of the camera, yeah.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. I've read books about like what people did in the silent movie days, because I try to make little movies and things with here at PATV over the years, and the thing is, what if you have a very simple, your lenses aren't all that fancy, your camera you crank with your hand, and
well, people are making commercial movies with iPhones these days.
That's right, but you get a high definition like iPhone, but. What do you do if you have very simple things? 'Cause I happen to know that the Leica camera, the cheap, Eastern European plastic 35 millimeter camera. This is back in the olden days when I was young, and which was not in the Charlie Chaplin days. It's much more recent. Yeah. But like 1980, they'd get this like little Leica camera with a 35 millimeter black and white film, and the thing was the camera wouldn't do you any favors. It's just a cheap point and shoot snapshot camera, so you had to be really good, at figuring out where to put that camera and exactly what angle. And the thing is, a lot of those artists, a lot of the camera people in those days were artists. They were painters and photographers, and the photographers, they might have a strong artistic background. And even so, how do you retouch a painting? How do you retouch a photograph? Is you're a painter, you do it with a paintbrush. Nowadays you got to do Photoshop. So there's the darkroom things like airbrushing, but a lot of times an ex brother-in-law who he was a photographer, and he would do these like great big portraits of bank executives so they could hang it in the hallway in the bank. And he learned, he's good at what he did, and when he learned how to go in there with little tiny paintbrushes, and then, you know, one thing, they had sort of a textured thing for the print so it looked like a painting, and then he'd go and make the old geezer look good with you know, paint like that, you know. And
I saw a thing here a week or so ago. Some people think that the Mona Lisa doesn't have eyebrows because it's been cleaned and restored so many times. Somebody cleaned her eyebrows off.
Oh, hate when that happens.
That's just a theory.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Don't know if it's true or not.
I see. Yeah.
But she doesn't have eyebrows.
Yeah.
Whether that's Leonardo's artistic choice or something a cleaner did.
I wonder if we'll ever know. Anyway, I'm going to change guitars. The thing about all this sort of artistic stuff, though, is if you think about those paintings, in the old days, people had used, you know, candles and oil lamps for light, you know, and there's soot. I mean, they pollute. Carbon, you know, well, we all know what a hydrocarbon is. It's hydrogen and carbon. So the hydrogen burns, but if you had hydrogen by itself, it just floats up into space. So what you need is you know, carbon to make, because it's sticky, you know, because it's the electrons, right? So it'll bond to things. So you have a hydrocarbon, and then you burn off the hydrogen, and what do you got left? Carbon. And soot, carbon dioxide.
So, something else I read in the last week or two. George Washington was kind of a state-of-the-art guy.
Uh-huh.
And one of the houses he lived in, he never lived in the White House. That wasn't built till after he was president anymore.
Right, yeah.
So anyway, one of the houses he rented while he was president, he made it a lot brighter by getting rid of the candles and putting in whale oil lamps.
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. Whale oil. That's an improvement. Yeah, yeah. Well, so the thing about the candles is what they used for wax in those days, you know? I mean...
He was looking for votes from the whaling industry.
Oh, yeah, yes. The whale lobbyists got to him.
Our director informed us he was pandering to the whale oil industry.
I'll take this one. So, in our wonderful tour of guitars, see if I take the noise reduction off. This one is not bad. You hear a little something there. Anyway, so this guitar, you know, as I say, it's kind of patterned after the Les Paul. Kind of like Les Paul directions, and I guess these probably came out in the 60s, this particular design from Guild. But the thing is, this is like 1950s design, or like takeoff of 1950s design, as the other one's 1930s, because before, you know, they started putting pickups on guitars. So they didn't used to have pickups, you know. The thing about, like, 1920s, they figured that, like, radio was invented, you know, basically early 20th century, and then it became popular starting 1920s, and more affordable, and then there were more radio stations and stuff like that. And then as I researched this stuff, you know, so what happens in the 1920s, people try to play guitar in a band, and you have horns and drums and stuff, and a guitar doesn't keep up very well. So they started building these big arch tops, like this one is based on, and they'd be louder. And this is basically the same size and shape, you know, as the guitars were, except they didn't used to have the cutaway. And people go like, you know, because before, you know, in the earlier 1920s, whatever, in the jazz bands, which became wildly popular, they use a banjo. So that things changed, like, you know, with electricity, because in the band it was all acoustic. So if you wanted chords, banjo is a heck of a lot louder, believe me. In fact, I played in a small jazz band doing kind of a Dixieland thing, or 1920s style jazz, and I was playing a banjo and had a trumpet player tell me to play quieter. I thought, aha! See, there I am without...
Now you got it.
Yeah, now I got it. So, you know, but so they had these big arch tops, and Gibson was making them, the L5, whatever, the L, whatever. And then people started messing around, though, in the 1920s, tinkering with radio parts. So they started figuring out how to make pickups. They take the vibration of the strings and they put that underneath the strings, and the vibration would create an electrical signal, and then they'd mess with a radio, because the radio has an amplifier in it and stuff, and then they'd make a guitar and an amplifier, and then they could keep up with everybody. And of course, the technology kept improving and so forth. And then, anyway, the thing is, electric guitars don't have to be that big. In fact, they can be a lot smaller than this if you want. This is kind of nice to have this body. It actually makes it kind of easier to hold, to have something there than a little tiny body. There are, have been various experiments with guitars that are just basically nothing but the neck and this little thing here. But then you have just all neck, and this, you like to have something, And also, what's going on here, that's hollow there. What's going on in here does affect the tone. I mean, what the wood's made out of, the hollow spots. That hollow body does have a bigger sound. This sure is easy to hold. So we're talking about your arthritis class, and I'm thinking, man, when I have my arm around, I guess I'm going with my shoulder. And when I got my arm around some great big box, after a few hours, because really, I mean, this weekend gig thing is going pretty well. I'll play for 4 hours now because there's still people there. And, I get a certain amount of job security. If people are there because I'm there, and then other places going out of business, and then they're doing a little better every year. Anyway, so I'll just play, as long as there are people there, I'll just keep pulling songs out, but my aging body.
Yeah, you're thinking about the guitar makes me think. We went down to Branson, and there's an outdoor stage there at Silver Dollar City that has what looks like a grand piano on the stage. Mm-hmm. Before the show starts, they bring their electronic keyboard out and set it on. That thing's just a prop.
Right. Right. Actually, I played in a piano bar years ago, and they had this this thing looked like a grand piano, but it was a bar. You could and what it was the guy who played there. I was subbing for somebody who was had a gig in Green Bay that didn't end. So I began the season at the Bailey's Harbor Yacht Club in Door County, Wisconsin. So years ago. So he had a little spinet piano. That's the kind of the short one. It's it has a different mechanism, so it doesn't have to be as big. So it just goes up to about there, like right above the keyboard. So they wheel that one in there, stick it in there. So it looked like a great big grand piano. There was a little spinet in there. But anyway, so they took that out and they put it in the next room. And then I sat there on a bar stool and played guitar with this fake piano. And of course, the empty space under there was kind of squalid. They store things in there, and it's kind of funky back there and everything like that. And it's just like it's just ridiculous. The other thing though, I heard, and so there was a national act that some band that used to be famous or whatever. I knew a guy I talked to a guy just the other day who contracted for the sound. So he rented equipment and he had to have a guy there to work it. But when they got there, said all this stuff set up, the drums set, everything like that. But when they got there, the band was up there playing, but all the volumes were turned all the way down on the PA system, on the soundboard. And the only thing that was coming through was a backing track. It was all recorded. And they were up there pretending to play. And maybe the lead guitar player and the lead singer were actually doing it. But everybody else, the drummer, the keyboard, the bass player, all those, maybe the backup singers, were all faking it, and he could
Milli Vanilli.
Milli Vanilli, but this is just the Riverside Casino, and people out there, and it was hard because they're actually good at it, and you wonder, did that bass player actually know how to play the bass guitar, or did you just know how to look like he was playing the bass guitar? Was he like playing along, but his bass wasn't turned up, or was he?
Yeah, what kind of a job is that, pretending to play bass?
Well, the thing is, I don't understand this thing because I play bass. I love playing bass, and someday I'm going to have my Tom's Bass Show. But bring a couple of bass guitars and do this boring the audience thing that we're doing now. But they, if there are people who want to be seen holding a guitar or a bass or something like that and doing a little dance and grooving and stuff, because they say, but they don't really want to do the playing, you know. Because for me, I think like ever since I was a kid, you know, I would, you know, I would want to say, oh, the guitar part. I hear a guitar part, say, oh, I want to play that because I could like hear what the guitar part was, you know. Because I played the violin really badly when I was 6, and the mandolin and guitar and stuff, string bass in the jazz band, the orchestra from junior high on, and everything. And so I really want to play those parts. I want to be the one doing that. I want to make those sounds, you know. But other people just want to be seen holding a guitar. And I've known like really bad guitar players who learn a few riffs, but they get all the moves down. They do a little dance and stuff like that. And it would never occur to me to do something like that. Yeah. I mean, that's like a joke, you know. Yep. But maybe that's what these people do. They're like dancers or models. The thing about the thing, like, okay, so the Wrecking Crew, and there's a movie about it. I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it, and I read about the Wrecking Crew, and I remember when I found out about the Wrecking Crew in a magazine article in Rolling Stone or something years ago, and Carol Kay and Tommy Tedesco, like the most recorded guitarist in the world ever, Tommy Tedesco.
And nobody ever heard of him.
Yeah, because he was because you thought it was your favorite rock band, and that riff, that cool, that really groovy, cool riff, you know, that was really in style. That was a guy who was just, you know, punching the clock in this like recording, like studio recording factory. Just be there for hours and hours, you know, every like 12-hour shift of doing, groove after groove after groove, and he's just doing his thing. And then I used to watch these shows, you know, on TV, these variety shows that were kind of like a holdover from the vaudeville days, you know, Sonny and Cher and Smothers Brothers, whatever. And you got funny stuff, and they got whatever band is happening now. So you see this band, you know, and then you see some guy up there, maybe some tall, you know, good-looking black guy with a blowout hairdo, wearing a vest and no shirt, bass guitar, going like that, you know, with his fingers barely moving at all, looking like really cool guy, bell-bottom pants, the whole works, you know. And then, but, you know, I played the string bass, you know, and I it's all the same notes, you know, the big bowl fiddle you stand next to. I got one. I'll bring it on the show sometime, maybe. Hard to transport. And so I knew, you know, what bass notes were and stuff, and I could read bass clef, double bass clef, and, you know, and so that doesn't look like how you'd make those notes. But what I didn't know then, and I should have figured out, but I was just a kid, you know, is that, well, they were playing the record, and those people up there were pretending to be the ones, but actually the bass player was Carol Kay, this middle-aged woman with the cat's eye glasses.
Yeah, well, she did a couple of commercials back in like the 70s where, you know, she'd walk onto the stage and nobody knew who she was, and play a lot of wild chords.
Yeah, well, she was a really good guitar player too, but yeah. Well, she was like a really good jazz guitar player, and then she did a lot of the bass parts. And I saw her interviewed once, and she said the thing was that when she had to do the guitar parts, she had to bring like, you know, 4 or 5 guitars to the session. But if she's a bass player, she just had to bring one bass. So it was more convenient. It'd be like, you know, if you're like working somewhere and you got to load the forklift, and then somehow the guy who drives the forklift goes somewhere else, and you say, well, can you drive the forklift? And say, you know, driving the forklift is a whole lot better than lifting all those sacks, you know. Say, yeah, it's better. Yeah, sure. I'd like, but it's kind of funny. But anyway, so, you know, so I didn't know it was just this, you know, this mom, you know, playing those groovy bass parts.
Now, in the Smothers Brothers, that guy playing the guitar player was the real Glenn Campbell.
Yeah.
That's how he got to be their summer replacement.
That's right. Well, Glenn Campbell's the one that broke out of that whole thing, because he was a studio one too. And the thing was, he's a really good folk guitar player in the country. He had a capo and stuff. He was doing things. But see, I always kind of wanted to be Tommy Tedesco or Carol Kay or something like that. Of course, you know. There's a YouTube video, and I should probably find it and link it or something, but it's like, if you think that music today is really bad, then you're right. I mean, and here's scientific evidence. So they did these things like some research crew in a university in Spain takes all this data, you know, and just like the digital, you know, data of songs, and they analyze them. All songs are kind of the same. They're all kind of compressed, you know, homogenized. the way they're created, and they're actually all written, most of them written by just two songwriters, but this is kind of a secret. One's American, one's like Swedish or something. And they're all formulaic. They're probably written on a computer. And so what they have a computer with auto-tune and a microphone for a singer. And so the singer doesn't have to sing in key. They have like a keyboard to program the sounds into it, sampling like that, and they have a drum machine. And so it's like auto-tune, drum machine, and this one keyboard with all these sounds that maybe like are completely synthesized, or maybe they're sampled from some other sounds that people used to make, you know, back when they played music, you know, instruments. Yeah. And so, and then the songs are formulaic in a certain way, and although people don't like them, what they do is they introduce them so that you hear them again and again. So you go shopping in the store, they're playing through the music, you play the radio, they go on. They're on television, stuff like that. And even though you don't like the song, because your brain likes familiarity, it's just a natural, you know, thing for people who, you know, evolved on the savannah and trying to avoid lions and saber-toothed tigers and stuff. You like familiar predictability, you know? And so you start thinking, it hypnotizes you, it brainwashes you into thinking you like the song, even though it sucks. So, thing is, like I play a lot of music. I mean, I play it like every day. I'm like working on music and stuff like that. So I'm not nearly susceptible to that. The Katy Perry song about "Hear Me Roar," you know, for instance, doesn't. I mean, I'm sure Katy Perry's very nice and everything like that, and interesting hairstyles and everything. I don't know much. I don't know that much about it. I see pictures every now and then, and I know she's out there. But the stuff, the business she's in, and I know that they you know, it takes like several millions of dollars to get an artist, so to speak, launched. It's a major investment. But at the same time, what a lot of people don't know is that there's a lot of other music going on. And you know, I often, if I'm using electric guitars, I'm bringing tube amps. This is an aberration for me bringing this little solid-state modeling amp. I'm bringing tube amps, which are more primitive technology, but they sound a lot better. I got the classical guitar thing I'm into and everything. So this is kind of primitive. And a lot of people agree with me. There are a whole lot of musicians out there. You're not going to hear them on the popular radio, and you're not going to see them on TV. But there's a lot of more music going on out there that we don't know. But this is heavily marketed. It's almost like in sugar and various kinds of fast food things. It's not that good, but they try to get you kind of hooked on it. And I don't know. I mean. McDonald's isn't a sponsor of Tom's Guitar Show, is it? Because he's laughing. Okay,
we need a sponsor for Tom's Guitar Show.
Yeah, well,
if you'd like to sponsor PATV,
yeah,
send your cash.
Yeah, well, maybe actually any minute now, as soon as we get it all together, we're going to ask for sponsors for this show, and maybe we'll make it a better show than we'll have to. But you know, but I mean, so the thing about McDonald's, you know, is they have marketing things and a lot of advertising. They had the one thing is they have the Ronald McDonald, this sort of happy clown, who's in a nice place, you know, and they have the Hamburglar and things that apply, you know. They also have toys for the kids in their Happy Meals, so the kids, you know, I found myself going, I had a kid, you know, he's all grown up now, but he had the Pokemon thing, and he had to go to the Burger King to get the, you know, the thing, you know, and I didn't want to go to Burger King, but he had to get the thing, and you can only get it at Burger King. So, the toy, and so can I just, like, buy you one? And they don't sell them, you got to go to Burger King. So, the thing is, the McDonald's though had this thing where it's a happy place. It's a happy place to go. You see this commercial where the guy, you know, there's some guy who's sitting there and his daughter is, dancing in front of him and trying to get his attention and stuff like that. And he's reading the paper, and you know, and then finally she says, "Can we go to McDonald's?" And he perks up, and he found something that he can, like, you know, share with her. So this message sent to you is McDonald's is a happy place where you can go with your kids and bond, you know, because you don't want to like watch your kid dance or anything like that. You just want to, you know. But yeah, and this is kind of heavy set guy, you know. So yeah, Big Mac, and you had the Big Mac attack, you know. Yeah. So it's addictive. So that's what I want, you know. So
if you want to see me dressed as Ronald McDonald, we're not only willing to sell out, we want to.
That's right. We'll sell out. Yeah. We'll dress Bob like Ronald or the Hamburglar or something. I don't know. I'll be the Hamburglar.
My daughter, when she was in high school, worked for Wendy's for a while. She used to dress as Wendy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Could she pull it off, or was she the...
Yeah, fooled me. I mean, it didn't really. I knew it was my daughter. But,
I see. Yeah.
but who do you need to be Wendy? Just somebody in a red wig with pigtails.
That's right. Red wig with pigtails and maybe little spots like over like painted freckles or something.
Well, she has freckles. She's related to me.
Oh, I see. I see. I see. Well, that's fine.
Speaking of costumes, and I hope this doesn't cost us Katy Perry's sponsorship, but since you mentioned her, a couple of years ago she did, I don't remember the name of the song, but I've seen the video, and all the production values, it's all high pharaonic Egypt. Katy Perry is dressed up kind of like Cleopatra, everything is Egyptian, and one of the first lines in the song is, "Call me your Aphrodite."
Oh.
Doesn't anybody involved in this video know that Aphrodite was a Greek goddess?
Yeah. I knew Aphrodite was Greek.
I mean, is this just too much thinking to be done or something? But I mean, so there you have that world, the level of thinking in that world.
Are you Mike, Jim?
Can you not hear me?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We could tell you, or you could come out here and tell us. Because he's going to, because it's important, but.
I'm sorry, yeah, I'll have to check on getting that studio, the control room mic going. But I just wanted to mention, since you were talking about Katy Perry and costumes, and I hope this doesn't cost us Katy Perry's sponsorship, but a few years ago she did a video, I can't remember the name of the song, but the video, everything was high pharaonic Egypt. Everybody was dressed up in Egyptian costumes. Katy Perry looked like Cleopatra. But one of the first lines from the song was, "Call me your Aphrodite." And it's like, doesn't anybody involved with that video think deeply enough to know that Aphrodite is not an Egyptian goddess?
Yeah.
It's like, what level are these people thinking at? But
Right.
there you have
Venus.
I mean, they influenced each other, but still Aphrodite is...
Well, they conquered Alexander the Great, whatever. But yeah, I think. But maybe they could be. They could go work at the White House. They would fit right into the White House.
That's like all the Hercules stories these days, make him the son of Zeus.
Yeah, right.
He's not. He's the son of Jupiter.
That's right. Yeah.
Hercules was the son of Zeus.
Right. Yeah. I was thinking about that, remembering that from grade school. Yeah. We're not exactly talking about the. Oh well. I think the thing is, people will resent you if you happen to know things. I mean, like some of us read,
Yeah, back
books
when we were
and
in
things.
school and Hercules would come around and do physical fitness shows. And
Oh yeah, right. Back in the old days, yeah. We don't go. Well, I don't go that far back, but maybe you. Not even you, Bob. But no, well, there's a thing about that, and I think people resent you if you just know stuff, like maybe you pay attention in junior high, and you read articles and books and things, and you watch instead of watching quote reality shows, you watch like those documentaries on PBS, things like that, and you just like you learn things, The thing I was thinking, like the global warming thing, is getting harder and harder to deny. Like the English version of that they're like they had terrible heat waves in England, that they'd never had before. They had like 90 degrees temperatures up into Scandinavia and things like that. 90 degrees Fahrenheit, of course, but like mid-90s, which is what we have here, and we consider it hot. But for them, it's ridiculous because it's never that hot up there, and things like so. It's getting harder to deny. But you would hear these things. I remember like Sean Hannity would say, "Well, can you believe that this is just all a conspiracy? To have this global warming thing, because it was in the winter, it was snowing heavily." I say, "Well, how can it be global warming when it's snowing heavily?" And you get like any eighth grader who will tell you that, "Oh yeah, well it's because when the water gets warmer, like in the ocean, more vapor goes up. You see, so yeah, it's still it can be below freezing where you are in the winter." But there's more water in the air, Just look at your coffee. There's steam coming out of it. Oh, when it's warmer, the steam comes, the vapors. Yeah, and an eighth grader could tell you this easily. Maybe a fifth grader could tell you this easily. So, and just along those lines, I watched a Jimmy Kimmel video from his show, like there's a video on YouTube, and they go out in the street and they bother people in the street, and they ask them, where certain things are, and they follow that map, and people can't find the United States. They don't know where North Korea is, And then they go through all these people and they say, "Oh, I'm bad with this." They don't know if the U.S. is in Africa or things like that. Just completely ignorant people. Did you go to college? I have a master's degree, says the woman. And then some kid comes out, some looks like a fifth or sixth grader, and he points to everything. He knows where everything is. Australia, and I know where these things are too. I know where Zambia is. I know where Romania is. I know where North Korea is.
I always wonder how many people they have to talk to get the ones they show.
Yeah.
Leno used to do that too.
Yeah.
He'd go out and, what's the nearest ocean? Well, in California. Now that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Now somebody got right one time. They said, "What's the nearest foreign country?" And the guy said, "Baja," which is true.
Yeah. But it's a
Except
state.
It isn't a country.
Yeah, it's a state. Yeah. They say, what's this country? Africa? Africa's a continent.
Yeah, somebody was asking that.
Yeah.
Something about they were looking for a country, but several people. It was a place in Africa, but several people just said Africa, which is not a country.
Right. Well, they're looking for a particular country, in West Brazil, and they point to Africa, so that's Africa. Or they,
Well, South America, Africa, they kind of look a little bit
yeah.
alike. That's like Australia looks like an upside down U.S., but
Sort of.
And it kind of is. They drive on the wrong side of the road down there.
Do they still do that?
Yeah.
Okay. We've got the guy, a waiter, a bartender, used to be a busser kid. We raised him up to Tuscany. He's going to move to Australia for a while.
Well, I kind of understand it down there. But England is like 20 miles from Europe, and everybody in Europe drives like us, except England. They drive on the wrong side of the road.
I was thinking, okay, so if you're from the U.S., you go all the way over there, But what if you're like from France, and it's just like, a very short ferry ride. You can drive your car over there.
Well, they got a tunnel.
They got a tunnel.
Drive through the tunnel.
Yeah, you can drive through the tunnel. It's right over there.
The tunnel.
Channel, that's right. Remember, there's channel. It was for rail first, I think, and then yeah.
Tom, can you hear me now?
I think this thing sounds really nice. I don't play this guitar that much because I have this serious guitar acquisition issues. Good tune it, I suppose. But I mean, it's got these fancy Seymour Duncan pickups on it, and it's.
I think Japan drives on the wrong side of the road.
They do, I think, yeah.
Thailand?
I can't get that yeah, Thailand, because that's what kept them from becoming an English colony. Thailand was the only country that ever became a colony in Southeast Asia, and it was a concession they made that expedite trade with England. They consented to drive on the wrong side of the road. The question I had though, Bob, so if you're driving from France through the tunnel into England, where does the lane change around?
I don't know. I wonder if you do drive through. Maybe put your car on a train. I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, that's the next show.
We could just take this huge, massive research budget we have here on Tom's Guitar Show, and we could all go over there and find out. We'll rent a car, and who gets to drive?
I'll bet it's on the internet.
Yeah, that'd probably be cheaper. That'd be free, wouldn't it? If you got internet access, which you can get hold of. You can actually use a computer somewhere for free. Anyway, so what have I done this week? Not much. I played the Autumn Leaves. Have I used my looper at all? Didn't like that one. I always I just vamp on an A minor chord. Let's do E major 9. How about C sharp? How about C minor? Everybody knows C minor has 3 flats. But I'm going to play B natural because that's a harmonic minor scale. Anyway. Well, we're about done here, I guess. Remind me not to play that much in C minor. It's kind of a drag on a guitar. Oh, it's all right. I'm gonna say one key's the same as the other ones, except that some have sharps, some have flats. The thing about C minor is you want to play a harmonic minor scale. So everybody knows the key signature for E flat or C minor, right? You got your B flat, E flat, and A flat. Well, now I want to not play the B flat. I want to play B natural, but the E flat and the A flat. So it's a little bit confusing, but who cares? Life is full of confusion, and then it's over before you know it.